In January of 2005, about 3 or 4 couples had moved to Ocala who had one time been in Gainesville. In fact, there were 4 families specifically. And I'd been having some conversation with them, and they had some friends that shared their yearning to have a church with a certain focus. And so they invited me down, and I had lunch with 7 men in early January of 2005 at a local restaurant. And from that lunch, 2 weeks later, there was a potluck dinner that was held, and folks gathered at that potluck dinner, and we decided at that dinner that we would launch a weekly Bible study, and I would drive down to Ocala weekly on Wednesday nights. And so in February of 2005, we began the Bible study, and the very first one was at the home of Ross and Margaret Lehman. If you don't know this, the Lehman's footprints are in the foundation of this church. Interestingly enough, I had met Ross about 3 years prior to connecting with them here in Ocala. When I was pastoring the Free Church in Gainesville, we had reached a point where we thought we needed to hire a full-time worship pastor. And we came across this gentleman out in California, Ross Lehman, and we actually flew him to Gainesville, and he candidated to come onto our staff. And then he left, and the leadership had a change of view, not because of him, but the decision was made, that's not the staff position we need to add. We need to be adding a pastoral staff position that's not specifically on the worship. So it wasn't because we rejected Ross as much as there was a change of job description. And so lo and behold, imagine my surprise when I came to meet with this group. The first time we met was in the home of Ross and Margaret Lehman. And so we had known each other from that contact a couple of years earlier. But I have to apologize for it, but it was the only photo I could come up with. You'll see a photo on the screen here. We had the Bible study, and we met from February on through the summer, and as the fall was approaching, the group was getting antsy. They were really wanting to start weekly worship services. And so it was decided we would start the worship services on Sunday evenings in September of 2005. That way I would be free to drive down and to preach for them on Sunday nights. And before we launched that, the whole group came up to Gainesville. They all stood up in the front of our church, and we prayed for them. And then after that service, the group gathered outside of the church in Gainesville, and that's the group you see before you. Even though these people haven't changed at all, I would point out Dave Moss and Tanya right there, each of them holding one of their sons. Over here is Ross Lehman and Margaret right there, and they're at that time 4 daughters. Isn't that right? I don't.
There's the one in green.
Okay, there's the one in green. I won't put the laser pointer on you. So we began the Sunday evening services in September, and as we moved through the fall, and as is often the case, especially in the South, most people really want to go to church on Sunday morning. And even though Sunday night was the only time we were meeting, we felt like it just wasn't giving the group enough traction. And so we decided to start morning services in January of 2006. Of course, I had my own pulpit responsibilities, so what we did is we began sending elders and other pastoral staff from the Gainesville church down here to fill the pulpit during those early months of 2006 until we could get a pastoral candidate in here. And indeed, by the end of 2006, Pastor Jim Folk was given a call, and he was installed here January of 2007. Then one of the most remarkable things, I have participated and been involved in the planting of 6 or 7 churches over the years. And I've never known of a church to experience what this church experienced. Because morning services were started, as I said, January of 2006. By summer of 2008, this building and property were purchased. And it was really an act of God, because there had been a church who had been occupying this space, who built this space, and that church was not able to continue, and they had to disband because they really couldn't afford to pay the mortgage. The year before, the bank had assessed the property in the building here at $1 million. This was 2008. And the bank allowed this church to purchase this building and property for $387,500, which was about, as you know the numbers. And so it was just taking on the mortgage. And so the Lord was truly magnificent in the way he led. Like I said, we're 10 years old in Gainesville, we still don't have our own building. And it's not like the building is the most important thing, it's the people, it's the body, but it sure makes a lot of ministry a lot easier and flow more smoothly when you own your own facilities. So as we look back, when I come here, all these kinds of memories flood my heart and my mind, and it just makes me want to say, like the words to the famous hymn, "To God be the glory, great things he has done." And great things we can trust he will continue to do.